Get ready to have all the fluids drained out of your body on KHANTEHNT!
Suck my blood into pieces. This is the final episode of Vlad Love KHANTEHNT. At least until they make more. Hey, but first go to subscribester.com/KHANTEHNT and give us $10 for all our bonus episodes, none of which are about Vlad Love, but are about other cool stuff. And also, watch this ad.
Wait. You
What?
should have said
Some
of which are about Mamoru Oshii films.
Oh, yeah, right.
Such as Pat Labor 2 and Beautiful Dreamer,
That's
which
right.
we've covered in bonus episodes. If you like Vlad Love, you'll definitely want to watch those.
Definitely true. Also ad. Hey kids, want to impress your friends and induce sexual arousal in your neighbors? KHANTEHNT t-shirts!
Wow, I've never been more impressed in my life with anything!
KHANTEHNT now has official t-shirt merchandise, and you can get yourself some by clicking below the video or in the Teespring link in the description. With designs like the classic KHANTEHNT logo.
Or this!
I've got a shirt on too.
Or this. KHANTEHNT!
In these trying times, why not tell the world you'd rather be watching Eurocant from inside your cozy can tent?
They're a great way to support the show and share your KHANTEHNT pride. So get out there, wear them, and get into KHANTEHNT. KHANTEHNT!
私はたまたまこの海辺に泳ぎに来て、メメクラゲに左腕を噛まれてしまったのだ。
Here it is. Vlad Love is now complete, as far as we understand it. And what a journey it has been.
I'm very curious to hear your collected thoughts on this show, because last time we talked about it with the first 6 episodes, we discussed a lot of how it's sort of Mamoru Oshii's like playground to do the stuff we know him to be a big fan of. I had been like kind of like, yeah, I like some episodes, don't like others as much. You were a little bit more positive. I'm curious if you've maintained your stance through these through the rest of the show.
I definitely enjoyed this batch of episodes a bit less than the last batch of episodes. It seemed to lean less into, there were moments where the show was making me laugh and I liked it and I was like, oh God, anime can be funny sometimes. That's great to see. But then there are times where I guess they perhaps got a little self-indulgent with the references, and there were a few episodes here where I was just like, I understand you're making a reference to a thing that I don't know what, some of which I did get and I did enjoy. But the endless references and the, I don't know, the kind of, the self-aware wasting of our time, but it's still wasting of our time a little bit. So did I enjoy myself overall? Yeah, it's definitely better than like an average show because it has production values that are sometimes really good, not all the time.
Vlad Love is a show that I really think is being made for a very specific audience.
Yeah.
There's probably
Mamoru Oshii himself, and that's it. Yeah.
I think there's probably like some people who are just as big of film buffs as he is, who, I mean, the second half of the show is almost all just film stuff.
Mostly, yeah.
Like, we had talked about how we had planes and stuff like that before. This is like just, episode 7 is about them making a movie, so we get a lot of like, you know, comedy at the process of making films.
She's not in this one, but the director lady, okay, she's all fucked up, but this is her here right now. It really becomes kind of her show.
It really does. Like she, and to the detriment of most of the other characters, in my opinion. Because like while we've had Mai and Banba like expanded fairly enough in the first half of the show, yeah, she's the only one who has like any personality out of all the other characters. You've got like 3 girls and a guy in this club who do like nothing ever.
I mean, I thought it was, I like the joke that's kind of implicit in the fact that there's like one named male character who's just like a big hulking like idiot. It seems like a self-aware joke. The girls have like actual character designs and like defined qualities and a little bit more to them. He's just like an idiot fool, and he has 3 basically nameless henchmen that are defined as like the 3 others. Like that's just a funny joke in of itself that they get so little focus compared to like the girl characters.
Even still though, like most of the time that we see these girls, they're doing like almost a Greek chorus thing. Where they'll each turn up and say one line, and I never got a strong sense of their personalities or who the fuck these people are.
Well, to be fair, this show, and you know, there's a little undercut by the last episode, which I'll want to talk about, but this show is a slapstick comedy first and foremost, and or maybe that's actually tying for first place with like movie reference containment unit. And things beyond movies as well, but mostly movies. And then beyond that, there's like a little bit of like character drama. Not much, but some. But like the comedy and the goofs and the references always take priority. So I don't really want to even give the show too much shit for not like fleshing out characters. These characters are there to be their tropes and to allow jokes to happen. Like Movie Girl, I wouldn't say she has a very well-developed personality. She has an incredibly one-note personality, but it's just that moves the plot along a lot of the time. But then in the last episode, they hit you with like the emotional stuff of like Mai's backstory. And it was at that episode that I really thought like, okay, this feels like a mistake now because I don't care about these characters.
No.
And attempting to make me resonate with them emotionally is falling flat.
Yeah, and even still, I don't know how seriously we're meant to take the last episode as compared to just a lot of it's a Gone with the Wind reference.
Right, yep.
And there are moments where I kind of like when the show like takes a break to just autistically go rattle off trivia about the movies and
I
stuff.
like that until I get bored, which happens after the first like 3 minutes. So you got to do it. There are moments like that, but then there are self-aware moments. Like you'll get a rant about 5 minutes about some movie I don't care about.
Right.
And then the character will begin to do it again, and the scene comedically cuts because they know you don't care, and they make fun of that. But I didn't care the first time either, and they still did it. So, again, for someone that probably hit real good, but for me, less so.
The only, like, I haven't seen Gone with the Wind. I'm familiar with it. I liked conceptually the idea that as they're talking about it, and the one girl's like geeking and naming the director and all this stuff, the other girl, Bamba's like, oh yeah, that long-ass movie, wasn't this one Japanese actor like in the dub of that? And the other girl's like, why would I know? Like, I don't, sure, probably. Just because she's like, why would I watch it in Japanese dubbed? That's heinous, you know?
That's, we don't do dubs, we're a sub-group here. That was funny that like the characters themselves are arguing over this like piece of like cultural history, the dub of a very famous movie. That I kind of like that one element. But does that sustain, you know, your enjoyment?
That's the only one I remember of all the movie, like of all the movie data. That's the only one that I was like, that's funny because specifically that there is a Japanese dub of Gone with the Wind to be referenced. Only anime could make this Gone with the Wind reference.
It works well in that. I mean, they reference like Casablanca, and in the movie where they're recreating thing. I mean, they don't expect it. They walk you through like, I'm shooting the scene in direct reference to this famous scene from this 1970 French film or Italian, Russian, USSR combined production or whatever.
Some of them seemed pretty obscure.
And look, that's fine. I edit videos, and I know it's fun to just put in obscure references sometimes that most people won't get, investigate 311, and you know, I appreciate that, but that seems like the director's having fun.
311 never happened.
It never happened, man. It never happened. Okay, because I'm enjoying the show from a further back perspective. I enjoy watching Mamoru Oshii having fun making this, which he obviously is doing. I enjoyed, like, there were several shots of, like, basset hounds throughout. I'm like, hey, he's doing the thing. I know that thing. Like, instead of the lion roar for, like, Lionsgate or whatever, they got a basset hound yawning. Adorable. Like, they mix in live-action footage sometimes. When Banba pulled a gun, it was a live-action hand. Some people were shitting on that. I just think that's cute and funny.
Who would shit on that and why?
I don't know. People on
Putting live action in is always good. What I'm not sure is always good is, so this show...
Oh, and there was one of those, like, black space shots that I didn't prepare for this, but I'll edit it in here, or our editor will. More Mamoru Oshii references. Hooray! I enjoy seeing those. They're things I know.
Episodes, like, 8 and on felt like they were largely drawn by one person or something.
They got worse. Yeah.
So, and I like the art style that's being presented. So it starts with Episode 8 was like just we're making a movie. There's some fun scenes of characters making a movie.
Episode 7 was the movie. Episode 8 was the nurse backstory.
Yeah, so episode 8 onward, the nurse backstory is mostly framed in these like almost Metal Gear Solid art looking, like the concept art for that.
Yeah.
Like watercolor, I don't know what medium this is. It's like these hand-drawn, hatch-shaded, like, portrait pictures. But like
Stills.
They are stills, and pretty much all of episode 8 is comprised of these stills as the nurse tells her backstory through all these men that she's been with. They find a vial of blood. This is the episode I assume
Memories.
you're referring to, that where like the joke is that this episode is just a waste of time.
Because they'd been talking before in the series that like, we don't want to hear your backstory, it's fucking boring, and then they devote an entire episode. I actually like that one more than others, but yeah.
But yeah, in this case, I did too. And it is a bunch of movie references I don't get, but I liked the idea of they find a vial of blood they don't recognize, it just says memories. And so she just starts listing off all the guys she's ever been with whose blood is, I guess, all in this jar, as she finally says at the end when they've been dying to know why she's telling these stories. But yeah, it's all framed through these like still illustrations that are on screen for a while each and also reused a lot.
Yeah.
Then you get to the next episode and the same thing happens for like half of it. And then you get to the next episode and
That's
there's a
true.
whole lot of it. And then you
That's
get to the
true.
last episode and a lot of it is still, some of which are again reused from episode 8.
Episode 9
damn.
is where they kind of started to lose me actively
Yeah.
because things got too weird. They're doing like a ghost story thing there. But circling back to episode 8. So episode 8 is about like the mystery of blood. Maybe I'm a fucking idiot, but my first thought was like, oh, this will be fun. They're gonna feed that to Mai, and Mai will like experience different personalities, and we'll learn the backstory through a
That
fun,
would have been a way better way to do
creative
it.
use of a vampire's power. But no, we just get like boring story time, and the joke is that it's boring. Why aren't you laughing? Why aren't you laughing at how boring this is? This is how I felt watching several of these episodes. Episode 9, it's like a metaphorical, like traditional Japanese story. Okay, I don't get the reference. At the end they say, this is a reference to this specific story. I didn't get it the whole time. Seeing that at the end doesn't make me like the episode looking back at it. I do like the weird like metaphors that
I
are
was sitting
going
here
on.
like, why can't I remember what happened in episode? I fell asleep. I fell asleep
I
about
mean,
halfway into episode 9.
I was spiritually asleep. I was emotionally closed. See, I mean, I like things of that. It starts with like Banba. It's like a weird alternate history or something. She got bit by a jellyfish. Her vein is bleeding. She's hunting for a doctor because her precious blood that belongs only to her beloved Mai is leaking out of her body. And she then interacts with a bunch of characters in miscellaneous ways with varying degrees of entertaining dialogue. Instead of drinking sake, which Mai is like pointing for at this like, I don't know, an inn or something, she's drinking castor oil and water. Haha, because we have to self-censor because it's on TV and that's the joke. There's like a lot of self-censor jokes that happen a lot. The characters reference that. That's fine. I laugh when I see that a little bit. But I'm not getting a lot of meat on the bone for entertainment value. And I kind of feel like this is one of these shows that's maybe made for like actual Japanese people, and I'm on the outside.
That's something I really wanted to talk about with this. I had a moment in actually a lot of these episodes where I kept thinking, I would really love to not have to pay attention to this. Like if this was just on in the background and I was hearing it, the best thing about the show is the dialogue. And the dialogue is really clever. Beyond just being full of references, it's smart. Like, the characters are referencing not just movies, but like real world events and politics. They're snarky, they'll kind of cut at each other in ways that anime characters usually don't. So like, if this was a show where...
I love our cast. Their dynamic is really nice.
I have to imagine I would have a stronger impression of some of these characters just from their verbal tics and stuff that doesn't come through as much reading in English.
They talk about how the dance girl is the daughter of a fisherman, and I'm like, I bet to Japanese people that was like obvious and they got that. That had to be explained to me later in one of the episodes, and I was like, okay, all right.
I felt there was a lot of barrier, and it's one part language barrier, one part age barrier, because a lot of these references are so old, and just like, again, if you're not a film buff, you're not going to get a lot of these references. Like, some of them are big movies that you've seen, but not a lot of them.
Again, just
there were a couple anime references I got.
Yes, that's true.
There's Initial D in episode 10. There's a part where the nurse says God in his heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's from Ava!
When, just again, in episode 9, when I watched that whole episode, and then again, like, Ghost Story, things that happen, and then at the end, it just says, like, this is a thing. I just have a note that says, it was all le reference. And I just, again, that doesn't make it entertaining retroactively. I'm still confused. So yeah, you've got to be kind of the right person to enjoy this from the right cultural context and historical context and stuff. And I didn't have that for much of this, which is why I think when it had crafted jokes about like my being a vampire that everybody can get at the first half of the show. There was more of that. It resonated with me better. It worked better for me. But again, I kind of don't want to shit on it too much because for some very small audience, I'm sure they will get a heck of a kick out of these references. So
there's someone out there whose this will be their favorite anime. Episode 10 is one of those that that's probably one of the most fun ones where we introduce Franken here. And
actually, in episode 8, Franken shows up.
Yeah, and it says he will be introduced in episode 10.
That made me laugh.
It
was funny.
It got me hyped to see what was going to happen when he gets introduced. And it's a fun episode. He's a robot Frankenstein man that they find, and like, this is probably the most like by the numbers anime episode in the show where like if you had this could have been an episode of like a number of like Cromartie High School. This could have been a Cromartie High School episode, like which is a compliment. It was funny.
Yeah.
Again, it's mostly references through like the mid to the end. It
mean,
ends in a big King Kong.
That's true. But think about how anime the setup is. It's that Franken shows up, and he's a Frankenstein monster to Mai's vampire princess, whatever. And he is her secret fiance.
Right.
The premise is pure anime. He's a transfer student. He's got these mysteries.
Yeah.
But the execution is pure Vlad love madness of he needs to be plugged in at all times. He has the mind of a super genius and the body of an athlete because he's assembled from all these different people, which just makes him like a more effective like killing machine when he goes crazy at the end. And you know, getting hit with lightning allows him to operate independently. They have to do this like Godzilla takedown and unscrew the bolt on his head. Like all the madness that ensued from it was great.
Yeah.
And yeah, that might have been the best episode of this second half.
It's the one I would see people who like anime slapstick comedy most easily gelling with. If you like Osumatsu or something, like this could have been an episode of something like that. Whereas like episodes 8 and 9 could not have been an episode of anything else.
Right.
Episode 11,
Episode 11 was the beach episode.
That's right.
Again, classic anime thing, but done with the style of Vlad Love, which was good.
The main thing about the beach episode that I remember is the big fish man that comes, the big dick-shaped fish monster man that comes out of the sea. That an old woman has been sacrificing young girls to get him to come out because he don't want to see some old ratchet
I love the
hag.
backstory. She's like, okay, so we were find out, she's been alive 500, 600 years, 400, whatever it is, and she's been like caring for this fish monster and trying to get it to come out. And he lost interest in her about 380 years ago. So there was like a good 20 years in there where their relationship was good or something. And now she's been sacrificing virgin girls or whatever to it just so she could see it because she loves it, which is cute. And then the fight with Franken ensues and all that. But I mean, the best part about the episode are the little details. Like, okay, what were they doing in the first place? They're there because there was a special travel package for only 10,000 yen, which is $100. Whoa, a vacation for $100. We're in, baby. And they all go together, and there's lots of sexy shots of the nurse. But it was just cute and funny. And when it's just making me laugh with simple things like that, amen. Amen.
Which is why it was a mistake then in the last episode to be like a plot all of a sudden.
Well, it starts as everything good in Vlad does with a movie reference. A movie I have seen, Interview with a Vampire. With, did you know? Brad Pitt was in there, and his performance was complimented by Tom Cruise, both of whom I love. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Oh, but they shit on my boy, what's his name? The fucking Ethan Hawke or something. And he was going to be played by River Phoenix. I actually find that trivia fascinating because I like all these actors. Maybe it wasn't Ethan Hawke, whatever.
See, like, obviously...
this is doing something for me.
If you got every reference in the show, you probably would be like, this is fucking amazing.
Exactly. And you would think it's cool, and it'd be like the dialogue in Clerks. I love Clerks. I get the dialogue in Clerks. There'd be more of that if you understood it. But if you're not from America, or from, like, years before or years after when Clerks was made, you'll be out of touch.
Clerks, the animated series, might be a decent comparison to this show.
Probably true, though I haven't seen it in a few years, so I can't really remember.
It's pretty fun. I like it more than this, but that's also, again, references I get more.
Right. So building from this reference to Interview with a Vampire, director lady, I think her name's Maki, is going to do an interview with a vampire. And so, she sits down with Mai. She's not getting good answers. She's putting up a barrier. So the nurse, the immoral person that she is, just drugs her and hypnotizes her to tell the real deal. And we get her tragic backstory. Being moved from place to place throughout Europe, being chased around. Her mother was killed in like a burning crusade or whatever. They get to the New World. Gone with the Wind references or whatever. And I mean, in itself, I like the story. The dad brings in an adopted, like, sister for her, but really the plan was to make Mai become her own independent vampire, and the first step on that is you have to be able to hunt your own prey. You gotta kill and eat your own friend. I mean, again, I like the lore of, like, oh, did you know that young vampires, they actually suck the blood of their mother, but her mother's dead, so she sucks her father's blood to get by, and he's the one who does the hunting. But he cuts her off one day, he's like, sorry, I'm not gonna feed you anymore, you gotta do it yourself. And this puts her in such a frenzy that she kills her own friend, and so her tragic backstory is that she killed her best friend, and presumably this is why she's like the, I don't know, reticent, unwilling to harm people vampire that she is.
It was very odd to try to present like this tragic backstory through the artifice of like they're watching it like a movie and commenting on it, kind of. Because it doesn't have a lot of dramatic weight, which I don't think it should, or that's what they were going for.
They're meshing the joke of the interview and the reference to the movie with the dramatic stuff, which does have downfalls.
It comes, the whole thing is tonally weird, especially because it ends in kind of like, yeah, we're all friends and together.
This is a very abrupt end of potentially the series, but at least the season of the show. I'd watch more if they made more, but like it ends with them. This realization that, okay, Mai is a killer, at least a little bit. She's killed somebody, and they're like, ooh, Banba, you could get your blood sucked one day. And it ends on this friend shot of like, nope, we're gonna be fine, and I love Mai, so we're gonna make it work. And that's just like the end of everything. Very abrupt.
Weirdly, like, I don't know, wholesome in a, like, with a show like this, where it's usually going off the rails or just being like nonsensical or not really trying to make a point, to then go and like, just very straightforwardly be like, okay, here's the character's backstory, but it's happily ever after. And you're like,
yeah.
I guess I learned whatever I needed to know. I don't think I needed to know.
This didn't change anything about our understanding.
I don't think I needed any of this information.
So it stands on its own. Like, was it entertaining to watch? Was it funny? Was it good? And the last episode, I mean, it was, I don't know, kinda. I like some parts of it. And that really just reflects on the show as a whole. When it's doing original, like creative, good jokes, like it did more in the first half with having Mai try different blood and turn into a dragon or turn into a monster. And the love they crafted into animating that and having clever scenarios and dialogue, all that stuff was really good.
That was the end of animation for this show.
More or less.
Not to say that there's nothing, like, the show does look good because of the character designs and everything.
And I just love the weird creativity of when Franken is King Kong, there's live action footage of Tokyo Tower with him animated on top of it. I was thinking, like, that's how I animate things. I fucking chroma key and put a fucking thing on top of the screen. So I could animate this show too. Put me in, Oshii. So, I mean, I just like the creativity and the freedom, and that's really one of the best things that's going for it. I'm able to step back and be like, Oshii was having fun making this. I'm glad I saw it because it adds to the tapestry of stuff the guy's made. I find that interesting in of itself. But in terms of enjoyment value from the show on its terms from the narrative, hit and miss. Hit and miss.
I'd agree. I think this is a type of anime we need more of. Shows that are willing to be very specific, that are willing to be experimental.
See, would you rather watch this or the random isekai of the month, of the fucking year?
For sure this, and I would have liked to have watched this a different way, like not for work, if I was, just because I don't think it's a show you're meant to rush through in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
You could watch one episode of this a year and
oddly, it was
just
released in 2 giant chunks of 6 episodes. So, or the first episode came out first, but then 3 chunks, I guess.
Yeah, it was strange the way they released it, and like again, it's a show that's about wasting time and just kind of making references and being in this very particular atmosphere. So like, I do think it's one of those where you could watch a couple episodes of this, and if you're like, I love this, you will love this. If you're not like, I love this, then you're probably, it's not going to get any different. It's definitely not going to get better. If anything, it might get worse.
Again, if you
really a matter of perspective.
If you love movie references, that does increase as the show goes, so I suppose you'll probably like it more. I've said all my thoughts on the subject. It's a little messy, it's a little complicated. On the, enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, but it's not for everybody.
I don't think it necessarily needed 12 episodes, but at the same time, it could have had infinite episodes.
It's a canvas. It's a canvas for Oshii, and I think he thinks of it more as like, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. I'll make whatever plot I want. Mai isn't even relevant for like many of the episodes, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be all about her all the time. But I do feel a little bit of longing for more of that stuff. Because again, it was the creative stuff that used the plot elements that they did add, funny vampire stuff, that's where it hit the best for me. So if there's a continuation, there could be, I don't know, would very much enjoy seeing more of that stuff.
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd come back for more just because I felt like I got more than I needed already. And again, I don't think that speaks as much to the quality of the show as to the fact that it's not for me. It's not a show, it's again, a type of anime I want to exist because if it was full of references I got, I would be in love with it.
Right,
You know,
right.
just the fact that it's like, it's kind of nice when you can watch a show and go like, man, this is well written. I bet this is really fucking funny if I knew what the joke was in a bigger way.
It is to be celebrated. Like, I think that the backstory is like Oshii is backed by like one specific company, one corporation. I was looking at the Wikipedia a little bit about this, that like some company is funding this operation for whatever reason. They believe in Oshii or something. So it's really an independent project that Oshii, used whatever connections he had to get off the ground and fund. And yeah, I mean, I love any kind of independent spirit that's not just like a slave to the current trends and is happy to do creative and more experimental stuff, even if it's so specific that for me it doesn't hit, as you said. More creative stuff in general means some of it will hit just right, and would love to encourage more of that.
You know what'll hit you just right is the bonus content on our Subscribe Star that you get for paying $10 a month.
Seriously, the Oshii stuff of the Pat Labor episode and the Urusei Yatsura Beautiful Dreamer, watch those and then watch the movies, or in opposite order, whatever gives us $10 and has you experiencing more good anime. Because they are great and they're worth talking about, and I'm sure you'll enjoy our discussion of them. Also, we have t-shirts you can buy down below, and a Twitter and Discord where you can talk to folks about what we're talking about on the show, and a KHANTENT clip that might just be us. We'll find out.